TCI is brought to you by Spendthrift Farms Share the Upside program, which accounted for 3 contenders by freshman sires in this year's Kentucky Derby.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Triple Crown. Alongside Joel Cunningham, I'm John Siegel. Well, Joel, we're here. This is our pick show, man. Kentucky Derby 141. You know, it was very interesting at the draw last night. I was speaking with John Asher. He said this is one of the best Derby fields that he's ever covered. He's been doing this for 34 years. I mean, there's something to be said there.
Yeah, that's quite a few. I mean, you're going back to almost, you know, the early 80s at that point with John. So he's seen a lot of good ones. And, you know, I haven't been covering it for half that amount of time, but I would agree with him wholeheartedly. And it's really the depth. And what's interesting for me, John, you know, we talk about our TCI top 10, all these horses, we've been covering them. They all have a presence on paper and how good we think they are. But then you see them physically. And you realize that's where they really, you know, that's where it really kind of you get the affirmation on this class. They all look great physically. Not only do they look great physically, I can't throw any of them out in terms of maybe thinking somebody's over the top or maybe not sitting on their best race. I've been there for 2 weeks, almost every morning, and I have not seen anything that's deterred me from any in here. And to me, we're setting up for a great race on Saturday.
Well, we were out there this morning and just kind of getting a look at the horses. This is really the last day that they really kind of put in some training. And, you know, I know that a lot of horses will go out Friday and some will even go out on Saturday. But, you know, this morning when we were looking at him, you know, American Pharoah, I mean, he's just class, man. I mean, when you watch him today, he's on the track, and, I mean, he's just such a superb athlete.
Yeah, I mean, you watch him here. I mean, you know, there were some rumors about, is there a hitch in the giddy up or something like that? I don't see it. Last couple mornings, he's looked tremendous. And, you know, he's a lighter frame horse. You know, from hip to shoulder, there's not much there in terms of flesh. But that's him. You know, to me, he looks good. He's a picture of class. He looks happy. That's what's important. Look, Bob's got him here. He's going to run his race, and you have to beat him. The race starts with American Pharoah.
Well, let's look at Carpe Diem. He's a horse that's currently, you know, he's been our #1 for a long time. And, Joel, I mean, this horse, he's bright. He's got a ton of energy. His coat looks great. I mean, physically, you can't fault him.
Not a horse that looks any better on the track than him. You wonder about him mentally. He's a horse that you don't want to bet until about 10 minutes to post when he's gone through the paddock experience and they've sang My Old Kentucky Home. And Johnny V is able to get him out on the track and get his mind focused on racing. You want to see how he handles that experience before you bet him. But boy, everything else, the way they've managed this horse, no kinks at all. Everything's gone to plan, and he looks tremendous.
I'll tell you another horse that's tremendous, and we've said this for a while, and that's Dortmund. But, man, I mean, just to see him, you know, in person, you know, you don't realize how big he is, but he's still just so athletic.
Yeah, and he's a skinny horse. He's 17 hands. And again, there's like I said about American Pharoah, both of Bob's horses. You know, from hind quarter to shoulder, there's not a whole lot there in the line of flesh. But he looks like he's doing well. I've liked the energy. Some people were, just to be honest with you, criticizing his energy. I've liked the energy the last couple mornings and what I've seen in his training. And to me, again, 6 for 6, multiple grade 1. He's not even going to be your favorite. 106 Byron, 104, 104 Bob Baffert. This horse is sitting on a big race, and he drew well. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Well, let's talk about firing line. I mean, this horse is a fireball. I mean, he's a firecracker. I mean, this horse has got a ton of energy. I guess maybe people could fault him the other way and say that he's got too much energy right now. But, Joel, he hasn't raced in 6 weeks.
You know, I talked about Carpe Diem being one of the better-looking horses on the backside. Firing line is as good-looking as any horse on the backside physically, not only in his looks, but his condition. And the way he trains, you saw the draw reins there. He's been a ball of energy every morning we've seen him. Boy, he is sitting on a big race, and if he can't win it, I think he's going to make somebody else pay in the middle stages of the race.
All right, let's go to the other extreme, and let's look at Bolo real quick. I mean, talk about a horse that just kind of, you know, just handles his business. He's just out there just doing his thing, but, I mean, a completely different stride there than firing line for sure.
Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe he's just a turf horse, and he does look turfy. I get it. He's a Dynaformer line horse. He's a big, hardy horse, John. You know, he's a horse that looks like he can stand up to a lot. He looks like a horse that's classically made, you know, that matches the pedigree. Maybe we're missing something on him because we're the only ones that have him in the top 5, but he has looked awesome. All the California horses we've talked about have just looked awesome since they've been here. They've looked good every morning. Some people may have wanted to see a little more energy maybe in Bolo's training as well, but to me, he's a picture of health. He is an awesome-looking horse. I still think that he's a top 5 horse in this Kentucky Derby picture, even though he's 31 on the morning line.
All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the TCI top 10 now, and tell me, after you've done the eyeball test and you've kind of looked at these horses, show me any adjustments that you've made to the top 10.
You know, I mean, I mentioned how good they looked. I can't make many adjustments because, again, they looked as good physically as they did on paper. So we go now over here to the monitor, and you'll see the only horse that moves for me is Mubtahish. And to me, and I should be surprised, he's a smaller, turf-made horse. I wonder how he's going to handle the American racing when he's going to have to take real dirt in his face, navigate through traffic. I know he's a stayer, but for me, physically, you know, he really hasn't done all that much wrong. I mean, he's a horse that you could tell has a great mind on him. He's done everything right. But for me, everybody else's look, I expected Materiality not to look as great off those Florida performances. Same with Upstart. They've all, to me, looked great. So I'm moving Mubtahish underneath the top 8 Americans, and I really think your winner is going to come from my top 6 here. But I can't fault Frosted and Upstart either, John. I mean, it's hard to split these horses this year.
Well, I mean, the draw is always kind of that deciding factor, like you said. I mean, you look at your top 6, man, it's solid. Last night was the draw. Your number 1, Carpe Diem.
Yeah.
He draws a 2-post. Just to be honest, talking with Todd, talking with the connections, I mean, they don't love that post, but they said that they think this horse is tactical enough that he may be able to overcome it.
Yeah, and I hope he does. I mean, I like Danza last year. He could not overcome the run in the first turn. He got slammed into the rail, and I really think he would have given California Chrome everything he wanted in that race. It's just my opinion, of course. Looking at Lucky, same thing, drawing the rail. You don't want to be inside because you can't go left. And everybody else is coming left, right at you. And you need luck, John, from that post. And Carpe Diem, the one thing I like about him, Johnny V knows him, and Johnny V has enough experience, and this horse is so athletic and tactical that he can, again, we talked about last week, put him into the spots and come back to him. And I think you have to have a horse that can make multiple runs, but you also have to have some luck in the race. He's going to need luck on his side, Carpe Diem. I don't like that draw it off for him, but I like everything else.
All right, so American Pharoah, he's the horse. Everybody says, hey, let's just go ahead and hand him the trophy. But I want to ask you a question. What is it that could cause American Pharoah to not win this year's Kentucky Derby?
He's the best horse in the race. He drew awesome 17 posts, awesome outside speed, and the 6 horses on his inside are all basically closers. A horse is nowhere near as tactical as him. You had Stanford scratch out. That's another speed horse out.
Yep.
And all the other speeds on the inside, 3. So to me, he's going to get the trip he wants. It's just a matter of who is able to hook him early enough to make that last quarter of a mile a stretch for him. And that's where I think he can get beat, because I think when I look at the sharpness and the quality of Materiality, when I look at how sharp right now Firing Line is, knowing that a veteran rider, Gary Stevens, will be on him, those are the 2 horses that are key when I look at American Pharoah. Materiality, Firing Line, tactical horses that are very sharp right now. How early do they go after American Pharoah? You know, do they go after him at the 3/8 pole, half-mile pole? And then what happens when they hook up? What happens? We haven't seen anybody test this horse yet. I think they're doing well enough to be able to test him at this distance. So, you know what? I think if he gets beat, I think those are the 2 horses that are going to beat him. They're going to go after him on the turn, cause him to, and probably going to compromise their own races, and that's why I think it sets up for a couple others in here.
All right, well, let's just go ahead and say it then. Give me your Derby picks for Kentucky Derby 141.
Well, I think I tipped my cap. I mean, Carpe Diem, I can't get away from him now, and I'm not just, this isn't a stubborn pick. Like, you know, he's been number 1 for us all along. I got to stay with him. I'm going to be stubborn about it. It really isn't about that, John. Everything has gone to plan. He looks tremendous. He's going to get a 1.25 miles. I think I have the confidence he is beyond any other horse in here. I think he's going to save ground in that second flight. He's going to need luck. But to me, he's that push-button horse that you need to win the Kentucky Derby. He's very competitive. And if he doesn't lose the race, you know, with 15 minutes to post and the pre-race activity, I still think if he gets luck, he's the horse to beat in a 1.25 miles. I like Carpe Diem coming from off the pace, down the stretch, and running past some of these horses, the 3 horses I mentioned that I think at that point will have made the lead.
All right, well, give me your 2nd and 3rd place then.
At that point, I think the fight on the turn, if it's as good as I think it will be, I do think none of those 3 will survive it. So for me, I have Dortmund, who, you know, if you want to talk about who drew the best, Dortmund, Bolo, and Firing Line, to me, they're in there, that middle 3 in there, because you have El Kabir in the 7 post. He's going to the rail with Calvin. Mubtahish is a dead closer. International Star, it's a knockout. Keen Ice, the 3 closers on the outside of Firing Line, they're all not tactical at all. So I think it makes a nice little pocket for Dortmund, Bolo, and Firing Line, gives them all an opportunity to run well. Dortmund, 6 for 6, talked about it. He's 2nd for me, and I like Bolo to be 3rd. You know, look, if Bolo won the race, it wouldn't shock me. to be honest with you. I think that's a pretty good top 3 in my opinion. I know American Pharoah's not in there, but I'm counting on materiality and firing line to be sharp enough to go get American Pharoah and compromise his race.
All right, well, I'm going to go with the champ. I'm going with American Pharoah. I know it's chalky, but I'm going to go ahead and go Bob Baffert 1-2. I'm going to go Dortmund number 2. I mean, both those horses are doing so well right now, and I could just see them running 1-2 in here. And then I'm going to hit you with a bomb, man. I'm just going to go ahead and throw in a bomb because he's a horse that if you took the saddle cloth off and you just were watching the horses train, you got to say, man, he's been doing great this week. He's a horse I don't know a lot about except just the eyeball test, and that's Keen Ice.
Hey.
Dale Romans, I mean, think about it.
I knew you were going there. Yeah.
Patio Prado. You got Dullahan, horses like that, man. This horse just kind of feels like that to me. I could be way off, but that's what I'm going to do.
His form looks like your runner-up from last year. Now, the difference is Commanding Curve ran in a weaker Derby. This is not a weaker Derby, but certainly Romans at Churchill, look, with that kind of horse, I get it. And look, there's some good long shots in here. Far right, he's been a bundle of energy. It's going to be a monster price. Not sure about the 19 hole and where he saves ground, but look, it's a knockout. The horse that looks like he's screaming to get away from Gulfstream has looked great at Churchill Downs at a solid breeze. I think he wants 1.25 miles. If he gets the right trip, he can be on the bottom of a try and a super. And I mentioned Bolo, a horse I think can win. I mean, he's going to be 30-1. I think he could be on the board. So to me, it just shows the depth of quality in this field, John. What a great Kentucky Derby. I expect a great race, essentially from the 5/8 or the half-mile pole all the way to the wire. I think there's going to be multiple dynamics from that point all the way to the wire.
All right, thank you, Joel. It's been fun following these horses. And thank you guys for watching. Make sure you come back next week. We'll do a recap show for you. Make sure you visit our sponsor, DRF Bets. You can place all your bets for this weekend. And we want to thank Spendthrift as well. What a great derby that they're having with all their horses that they have that are sired by the Spendthrift sires. Thank you guys again. We'll see you next week.